What is up YouTube, I'm Royal, I'm rank 1 Wildrift, and today we're doing beginner to pro on one of my favorite champions, Kassadin. In this video, I will take you from a complete beginner to one of the best Kassadin players. We're gonna look at his abilities, how to use them, explain the theme of the champion so you know exactly what you need to do to win. We're gonna look at his different builds, we're gonna explain them and analyze them. Lastly, I'm gonna analyze two different laning phases, one versus a winning matchup and one versus a losing matchup, so you really know what to do in each lane when you play Kassadin. And lastly, we're gonna analyze a full gameplay to implement everything we've learned into a game. I have an awesome gameplay for you guys, so you wanna stick around for it. As you guys know, I'm one of the best Kassadin players in the world. I absolutely love the champion. If you don't watch my stream, I have a lot of gameplays of Kassadin on my second channel, so I recommend checking that out after you finish this guide to kind of supplement your Kassadin knowledge and learn what to do in different situations. Now, what is Kassadin? Kassadin is a hyper-mobile AP assassin. He's actually the most mobile champion in the game. Once he hits level 13, he has a free flash on his ultimate every 2 seconds, which does massive AoE damage. The only issue is his mana limitations, as it costs a lot of mana, but we'll fix that during the build, don't worry. Kassadin is one of the best late game champions, right? So you want to scale with him. You want to learn how to play the early game in a way that you can get to your late game and get to your level 13 power spike with your 3 item power spike and completely dominate the game. You're just jumping all over the map, assassinating champions, and I'll show you exactly how to do that in this video. So let's get started by analyzing Kassadin's abilities. Starting off with Kassadin's passive, Voidstone, which grants you a shield that absorbs magic damage, scaling off your AP for 1.5 seconds when you cast an ability and you're near an enemy champion. This is an incredible spell for blocking out magic damage, making Kassadin one of the best champions at dealing with AP assassins and mages. Kassadin is one of the best counters to AP champions. So when people ask me when should I play Kassadin, right? You want to play him against AP champions for 2 reasons. First of all, he's passive that blocks magic damage and scales off your AP. So when you get to the late game and you have 500 AP, you're going to be getting a massive magic damage shield when you go in for your assassination combo. The other reason why Kassadin is amazing against AP champions is his first ability, which fires an orb. It's a skill shot, which has an insane base damage of 275 and a crazy good AP scaling of 80%, but most importantly, it silences the first enemy hit for 1 second. AP champions, most of them rely on their spells to do damage and be useful. I guess Teemo relies on his auto attacks with his poison, but most champions rely on their spells. So being able to silence an enemy for 1 second is pretty much the same as stunning an AP champion because they just can't use their spells, right? So it's an absolutely incredible ability to have, especially on an assassin, because you jump in, you silence them, and there's no counterplay. There's nothing they can do for 1 second. Kassadin actually used to have a silence in League of Legends, but they deemed it too OP, so they removed his silence on PC League. However, we still have it in Wild Rift, so it's obviously a super overpowered spell, and combined with the base damage and ability power scaling, this ability is absolutely insane, and it's on such a short cooldown as well. Your second ability is a very underrated and one of your most important abilities. It enhances your next auto attack and it gives it range, so you can use it from range to last hit minions, because whenever you actually kill whoever you attacked, that counts for champions and minions, but mostly it's useful for minions, its cooldown is reduced by 50%, so it goes down from 10 seconds, that's its base, down to 5 seconds, so this is great for last hitting minions at range in laning phase, so you can stay safe. But another thing it does that a lot of people don't know about it is the mana restoration. It restores missing mana. So the less mana you have, the more mana it will restore. It's only 5% against minions and monsters, but it goes all the way up to 15% versus champions. And since Kassadin is one of the most, probably the most mana hungry champion in the game with his ultimate, which we'll touch on in a bit, this ability really helps him out. Next, we have his Force Pulse, which is an AoE, cone-like AoE skill shot, right? His first ability is just a line and only hits one target. And it deals... The base damage might seem low, 180, and the AP scaling might seem low as well, but do you see right under my third ability how it says 1? Every time you use an ability, or every time anyone uses ability around you, that's not your third ability, of course. So enemies, teammates, you get these stacks, right? And when you get to 6 stacks, you see it's empowered. You see how the icon changed? And now it will do 40% increased damage, and also your third ability slows by 30% for 1 second, but if you use the empowered third ability, the slow effect becomes 90% instead. And this is the ability that you're gonna max first, because you really want to decrease its cooldown, because it's your main wave clear spell. So your spell max order is gonna be your ultimate, third ability, first ability, and lastly your second ability, since all it does is increase the base damage by a bit, which you don't really care about. Right? Next up, your ultimate, your signature ability on Kassadin. This is the ability that Kassadin is known for. So you blink to a target, right? It's an AoE damage blink, right? And you pretty much get a free flash every 2 seconds. The actual cooldown of it is 3 seconds at max rank, but obviously once we get some ability haste items, it'll drop all the way down to 2 seconds. So what's interesting about his third ability, even though the base damage looks really low, 120 damage with a 30% AP scaling, and it's actually one of the few abilities, I think it might be the only ability in the game right now before Rise comes to Wild Rift, that has a mana scaling. So the more mana you have, the more max mana you have, the more damage your ultimate will do. So that's another reason to stack a lot of mana on Kassadin. So while the AP scaling does seem low and the base damage does seem low and even the mana scaling does seem low, your ultimate stacks up to 3 times and does 50% increased damage every time, but it also costs 200% additional mana. So right now, this is my first ultimate, right? It's gonna cost me 70 mana, right? And it's gonna do 142 damage. Now my next one is gonna cost 140 mana and do 217 damage. The next one's gonna cost 280 mana and do almost 300 damage. And now you're on your final form of your ultimate, which is gonna cost a whopping 560 mana for 370 damage. So the base damage has multiplied by a lot, but obviously the mana cost is insane. If you do wait 12 seconds, the stacks will go back to 0, so you can start using it for mobility again. Because once you've maxed out the mana, you don't want to keep spamming it for mobility. So once you do actually get to the max stacks, it will do more than double its damage and cost a lot of mana. So that's it for his abilities. Now let's look at his combos. Kassadin has some of the most simple combos out of any assassin. So micro-wise, he's not that difficult to play. You just need to have a good understanding of when to use his combos, when to go in, and obviously the macro aspect so you can get to your power spikes. That's what's really difficult about Kassadin, and that's mostly what we're going to be analyzing. His micro, his mechanics are actually quite simple. So your main combo is using your ultimate, right? Before you get your ultimate, you don't have a combo. You're just farming and hoping that you don't die. But once you do get your ultimate, you have 2 main combos. The first one, when it's a single target, only one enemy, you want to ult on top of them, use your first ability, use your third ability, and then your second ability. This way you go on top of them and immediately silence them, so there's no counterplay, there's nothing they can do. You slow them down, you do your damage to your second ability, and then you're going to have your ulti back up to either keep chasing if they haven't died, or run away if you need to. In an AoE scenario where there's multiple enemies, I recommend using your third ability first to get the slow on both of them so that your team can follow up if they're around, and then go for the silence on the target that you're looking to one-shot. Right? The more advanced combos with Kassadin is using flash in combination with your abilities. You can do first ability flash. You can do, let's put 0 cooldowns. You can do third ability flash, but most importantly, and this is something you're gonna use pretty much every game to be honest, is your ult flash. So you can ult flash and still get the damage of your ulti while canceling the animation. This is gonna definitely catch enemies by surprise and you can quickly combo them from the distance. So for example, if I'm all the way over here and my enemy's all the way over there, I can actually ult flash on them, get the damage off and do my combo, which is just it's something that no enemy can really predict that you're gonna do, right? It's really hard. So that's mostly it for your combos. Again, they're quite simple. The main thing you want to keep in mind is that you don't overcommit with your ultimate because you will have to wait for its cooldown. Of course, when you do have stasis, which is one of the core aspects of your build, you can ult in stasis, right? Your main combo stasis is gonna be ult in, use your abilities, stasis, and by the time stasis is up, you can use your ulti to escape or to continue following up. So this is it for the ability breakdown and combos part of the video. Now let's look at the build. I'm sorry for staring right into your soul as I say this, but please leave a like on this video and subscribe for more Wild Rift content. Even if you think you're subscribed, my analytics tell me that more than half of you watching this video are not subscribed, so please make sure that you're subscribed. Also comment down below what champion you want me to make a detailed guide for next. Building Kassadin properly is extremely important, and here's my build order. First off, you're always going to be rushing Boots of Mana. These boots really make your early game feel less bad. It actually gives you the damage to follow up on ganks, it gives you the damage to do some early game roams, it just really gives you the damage that you need, and the mana regeneration definitely comes in clutch, especially because of how mana hungry Kassadin is. Now, if the enemies are full magic damage or they are full physical damage, Kassadin is one of the few champions in the mid lane that can actually run plated steel caps or Merc treads. He does get very tanky once you build Rod of Ages, so Merc treads or plated steel caps can be built on him, but I would only recommend doing this if the enemy have like 90% physical damage or 90% magic damage. For the most part, you're gonna be rushing Boots of Mana. Next up, you're gonna be going tier always. You need the 10% mana spend is refunded. It really helps with your mana and can finally allow you to use your ultimate a little more freely, and you want to start stacking it immediately. After that, you're not gonna finish your Archangels because you're gonna get another stacking item, Rod of Ages. So you go Mana Boots, Boots of Mana, Tear of the Goddess, Rod of Ages. And now you can start stacking both your Tear and Rod of Ages at the same time. And then you want to finish your Archangels. We finish Archangels here because by the time you complete your next item, which will either be Archangels or Death Cap, you actually will have stacked the full Archangels, and the shield you get from Archangels is going to be super useful. And on top of that, if you haven't finished stacking it, Archangels will also stack faster. It also gives you AP based on your mana, and since we're getting a lot of mana from Rod of Ages as well, you get an extra 400 mana, they synergize very well together. Next, always go Death Cap. At this point, you have so much AP from Rod of Ages and Archangels, which are like the max AP first two items you can get. So Rabadon's Death Cap is just a no-brainer. Kassadin has really high AP scalings. This will always be your third item. At this point, I recommend not building another item and going for the Stasis. Stasis is such a key item on Kassadin, and I explained why before, but it allows you to ult in, do your combo, Stasis, and then you're gonna have your ulti back up, and you can use that to escape or to go in deeper. Next up, for your last two items, you have so many different choices. This is where the understanding of how to build Kassadin comes in, because before that your first three items are always the same, right? Maybe you can change up your boots, but now you have a lot of choices. You can go Lichbane for extra burst. I usually go Lichbane if the enemies have quite a bit of magic resist, right? So it'll give me more burst, but I'm also not really benefiting from getting the other burst item, which is Infinity Orb or Awakened Soul Stealer, which have flat magic penetration. If you guys watch my items guide video, which I recommend you watch, flat magic penetration is not very good against enemies that stack magic resist. If the enemies don't have a lot of magic resist, Infinity Orb or Awakened Soul Stealer are both great choices that both synergize super well with Kassadin. I honestly can't tell. I can't make up my mind Can't make up my mind with which one is better. Infinity Orb will give you a lot more damage, but the utility from Awakened Soul Stealers are also really good. Ability Haste benefits you a lot. Getting some extra health benefits you a lot. And of course, as an assassin and cleanup champion, the passive on Awakened Soul Stealer is really good for Kassadin. And these are your burst items, but you're not always going to be going burst. Sometimes the enemies are very, very tanky, so you want to go Rift Maker. Get the extra Omnivamp and do more damage as the fight drags on. So versus tanks, you're going to be going Rift Maker. Versus shields, obviously, Ocean's Trident is a clear choice. It's the anti-shield item, right? So if the enemies have like Lux, if the enemies have Yasuo, Set, whatever, if they have a lot of shielding, Ocean's Trident is great. I don't recommend getting Ocean's Trident if the enemy team only has like one shield or one champion with shielding. Ideally, you want a few more champions with shielding, but Ocean's Trident is a great AP assassin item to counter shields. And next up, you have your survivability items. So Psychic Projector is one choice. The other choice is Crystalline Reflector if the enemies have a lot of physical damage. But these items operate very similarly. Psychic Projector is actually going to give you a lot of AP as well from its passive. It synergizes well with the Road of Ages HP that you're going to be getting as well. So this will make you quite a bit tankier. And it's great against a lot of those bruiser champions that won't be able to quite kill you with Psychic Projector. Another item that's really, really good on Kassadin is Crown of the Shattered Queen. And that's because Kassadin can go in with his ulti and it functions similar to Stasis. It blocks the first ability, and then for 1 second, you take reduced damage until your ulti comes back up. So against a lot of burst, Shattered Queen will be amazing. Because you can go in, tank quite a bit of damage for that 1 second that you're in there, ult out, and you're good to go. So it works super, super good with Kassadin. Next up, let's look at the runes. First Strike is pretty much always gonna be your best choice. Your second choice, if you don't want to go First Strike, is Fleet Footwork. However, First Strike is going to give you the gold that you need to snowball. And of course, as Kassadin, you're always the one jumping in first to engage the fight as an assassin. So as most assassins, you make great use of First Strike. You get so much gold, I highly recommend it. However, if you're really struggling in lane and it's a really difficult matchup, Fleet Footwork can be a decent option. It gives you a lot of healing throughout the game. And of course, restoring missing mana just like your second ability is very useful on Kassadin. However, for the most part, until it gets nerfed, First Strike is my go-to. If in the future both of these runes get nerfed, to make this video as future-proof as possible, Electrocute is also a decent choice, which gives you a lot of burst, but right now Electrocute is just a weaker version of First Strike. Next up, for your runes, you actually have 3 different choices. Precision are the most greedy choices, but it gives you the best late game with Giant Slayer to be destroying tanks. You can go Coup de Grace if you want against squishies, Bloodline or Tenacity, and of course Gathering Storm always with Transcendence or Bone Plating. And you can go Second Wind against Poke as well, that's completely fine. Next up, you have the most defensive runes, which is Nullifying Orb, Second Wind, and then you can choose between Perseverance if the enemies have a lot of crowd control, or Overgrowth if they don't, and of course Gathering Storm as your last rune. Lastly, you can go for Inspiration, which is going to give you the Sweet Tooth and Ecstatic Sea Jar combo. This is going to keep you in lane forever, and you're not going to be getting poked down. Make sure you grab Transcendence, and finally Gathering Storm. As you're noticing, we're getting Gathering Storm no matter what, just to complement Kassadin's already great late game. If you really want to, there are some build variations where you can go for Domination. This is really strong for in lane, but it does fall off quite a bit, so I'm not a big fan of the Domination tree. However, with Kassadin, you can actually build all 4. My go-to right now is the Sweet Tooth Ecstatic Sea Jar combo. This keeps you very healthy in lane, while it allows you to gather stacks with your Gathering Storm, and of course farm gold with First Strike by taking aggressive trades that you otherwise wouldn't be able to. For your summoner spells, you have a few choices. Ignite is the most common one, right? It gives you some extra kill pressure as an assassin, which is always nice. Cleanse is your second choice, which is of course against a lot of crowd control. In my gameplay that I'll show you, I'm actually running Cleanse in the full gameplay, and you're going to see how useful it can be. Exhaust is another choice versus assassins. If you're playing against the Fizz, if you're playing against the Zed, if you're playing against a lot of these assassins, even against Jace maybe, so when he goes in on you. And lastly, Barrier is an okay choice. However, for the most part, exhaust fills the purpose of barrier quite a bit better. By 90% of cases, you're either going ignite or cleanse. That is it for the build part of this video. Now we're gonna look at 2 different gameplays. We're gonna look at just the laning phase, an easy matchup and a hard matchup, so you understand how to play Kassadin in the early game. I feel like this is super crucial, so I need to include it. Let's start off with the easy matchup. We're playing against Morgana mid, one of the easiest champions for Kassadin to handle. So we see her right away and we immediately get some first strike gold level 1, which is always gonna be super nice. In these easy matchups, before you get your ultimate, you don't necessarily want to fight. You don't want to push the wave, and that's the worst thing you can do with Kassadin. Pushing the wave as Kassadin before level 5 is death. You're the most gank vulnerable champion in the game. You have no mobility and no escape. All you want to do before level 5 is try to farm as much first strike gold as you can while staying healthy and making sure you don't miss any minions. Your goal, and this should be your little mini game that you play with yourself every time you play Kassadin in the early game, is let's try to get every single minion last hit, right? That should be your little mini goal. Obviously, that's not always gonna be possible. I've done a great job so far at last hitting every minion and getting multiple first strike procs. Don't focus too much on the first strike procs. It's awesome if you can get them, but it's really not the end of the world if you don't get many at this point. You're gonna stack it up later on with your ultimate quite easily. This is exactly where we want the wave to be. Morgana is auto pushing the wave with her second ability, as a Morgana does, and we're sitting under her turret, very safe from early game ganks, able to just last hit freely. So this laning phase is going absolutely perfect so far. You want to make sure you're not pushing the wave. That's the worst thing you can do with Kassadin. Only go for last hits until you're level 5. I cannot repeat that enough. So far we've done a great job. Our first base is ideally gonna be when... Oh, that's actually a really bad trade from me, walking into the puddle there. I was getting a little greedy for some extra damage. Our first base ideally is gonna be when we can afford the Boots of Mana and tier. If not, let's just try to get at least our Boots of Mana, right? We're almost level 5, we're gonna get it this wave, and we can finally become a champion and kind of play the game. Against easy matchups like the Morgana, once we get level 5, we can immediately start looking for trades. I waited to get my plan until I was level 5 as well, because that's when Ixtali Sea Jar becomes usable, so I get 2 plants for the price of 1. I see Morgana as possibly based, so I'm gonna ult the wave. It looks like she didn't base, so that's completely fine as well. I'm trying to stay away from her pull, so I still have first strike. Obviously, we don't want to take damage until we proc our first strike, which is exactly what we just did. And notice how on this wave we have enough gold for Boots of Mana and our tier. That's 1,800 gold, but we don't have to base yet because she's very low on mana, so we can take advantage of that, push another wave, and this will probably cause her to miss a minion under turret before she can get back to lane. Now we're gonna recall safely and get our first big power spike, which is our Boots of Mana and tier of the Goddess. However, our circumstances are not fully changed. We still have a weak early game. However, now we can trade more aggressively if we play the trades correctly, if we use our shield, if we proc our first strike, and of course we can trade around Morgana's second ability. We're also completely happy with just AFK farming. We are the best scaling champion in the game probably. It's either Kassadin or Kayle, so we really don't care about fighting in the early game. We don't care about getting a lead. Obviously we're gonna punish Morgana whenever we can and get some first strike procs, but it's not necessary. Another great opportunity for first strike procs, awesome. But again, your main goal is to stay even, not get ahead. If you can get ahead, awesome, right? Even with easy matchups. We want to go in and trade whenever we can to get first strike gold, but we do also have to be very careful of the jungler. Since I have both my flash and cleanse, I can play pretty aggressively, but obviously I don't want to be wasting my spells. And again, we get another great combo with our first strike, and we're just going to keep doing that over and over and over again. Getting first strike gold, doing damage, pushing Morgana out of lane, and slowly getting priority in the mid lane before the objective spawn. We do have priority here, we can chase the Hecarim, but it looks like my Gragas was not really ready for the Kassadin to have early game priority. I want to cancel her base, which I achieve. I did have cleanse if she rooted me under turret, so we're all good. I want to push the wave and maybe look to help my team out, since I do have mid lane priority now, since I did a lot of great trades. So I'm gonna look to roam. Kassadin is one of the best roaming champions in the game. We can probably look for a dive. I'm just gonna go in. I did not expect the turret to do that much damage. I could have lived if I flashed away immediately. But Kassadin is a great roamer. As you can see, I used my ulti to get over the wall so I can be there really quickly. However, you only want to roam if you can, if you're pretty sure you're gonna get kills and you're not gonna miss minions. Here, because I did die, I'm gonna lose a few minions, which is not ideal, but we're able to get a kill and assist, which will kind of make up for that. But ideally, you only roam if you're sure you're gonna get something and you're not gonna miss a lot. Because as Kassadin, you don't want to take big risks in the early game, so you can stay even. Falling behind is terrible on Kassadin. It's gonna make the game really hard for you. We're immediately getting mid lane prio as to get the objective. It looks like Hecarim is probably doing the enchanted sample, so I'm gonna go ward it. And now I'm realizing that he's by himself, since I have mid lane prio and Fiora has top lane prio. So I'm gonna look to fight him, and Fiora is gonna come, and we will be able to take it down the Hecarim, and we get the enchanted sample. The only reason we're able to do that is because I had mid lane prio and Fiora had top lane prio. Otherwise, we would not be able to make a play like that. But since both enemy laners were under their turret and my team was taking the dragon, I knew that the enchanted ensemble was vulnerable, and Hecarim was already behind from the dive, right? He was only level 7, so while he was focusing the enchanted ensemble, we could go for an aggressive play like that. On our next back, we're gonna have a Road of Ages, so we're actually ahead of pace of where we need to be on Kassadin. So this game is going absolutely perfectly for us. And this is exactly how you want to play Kassadin in the early game on winning matchups. You want to keep forcing trades with your ultimate, winning those trades so you can make the enemy stand under tower, go base all the time, right? And you can use that mid lane prio to roam, since Kassadin's roams are so deadly. We did a great roam in the bot lane, even though we did die for no reason, and we did a great roam to stop the enchanted assemble. We're gonna go and take the plant in the river. Of course, since we're rocking the Ixtali Seed Jar, it's great to be getting as many honey fruit plants as you can, because that's 90 gold for every honey fruit plant, which is pretty insane, right? That's like 2 minions. And again, we're zoning the Morgana off the wave every time she steps up. We ult forward. Even if we don't hit our ult damage, our first ability and third ability damage will do quite a bit of poke, which will allow us to contest mid prio and help our team out. It looks like Fiora has come mid, and we did shove the Morgana out of lane earlier, so we're gonna get some plates here, even though we are gonna lose plates in the top lane. But this is a completely fine trade. This puts me even further ahead because I'm getting a lot of gold, so I'm happy. And now I'm gonna immediately, after getting mid prio, roam to the dual lane where a fight is happening. I'm able to just ult over the wall casually and just one-shot the Lux. Perfect. I'm not sure if we can get the Hecarim, probably not. And we're already gonna be able to get our 2 items. And since the laning phase is over, let's go and take a look at a hard laning phase versus a Jace. So the main difference in the easy and hard matchups is that in the hard matchups, you want to play the way you played pre-level 5 the entire time. Because even after we get our ulti, it's still gonna be insanely hard to trade on Jace. If we jump on him on the wrong time, he's gonna be able to absolutely destroy us. A quick little trick I used right away was igniting him level 1. This way, I will get first strike and I will deny his first strike. It's actually a really fun trick to do when you're both playing first strike champions, and it works really well. I'm definitely not gonna be needing my ignite until later on in the game, so this is completely acceptable to do in the level 1. Now we're just gonna sit under a turret and use our second ability to farm. We're not gonna be walking up, we're gonna be trying to avoid as much damage as possible and try to last hit from safety. Jace actually did a terrible job with the wave management. He immediately pushed, so we haven't taken any poke yet, which is incredible. And this is what you're hoping for when you're playing Kassadin. That's why we don't push the wave, we don't touch the wave. We hope the enemies push it level 1 so we can just sit under our tower and farm safely like we're doing here. We're doing a great job at dodging whatever poke he throws at us, so this lane is going perfectly. The longer we can stall and not trade, the better for us. I am trying to go for some sneaky trades with my first strike, and as you can see, because of the wave position, when he went melee, he actually took a turret shot. This is a perfectly executed wave manipulation or on our end to keep the wave in a state where if he wants to trade with us, he's forced to take a turret shot. So we have the wave the entire time in a very, very good spot. And as you can see, I am walking up sometimes because I want the wave to focus me for a bit or for him to stop hitting the wave so he keeps freezing right under my tower. So even my trade timings are intentional to keep the wave on my side. We have Vi walking by and we're almost level 5 already. Very, very chill. And we get our level 5, we haven't even used our honey fruit. We're gonna use it now, and again, because we're level 5, we're gonna get the double honey fruit. And we're gonna save that for a bit since we are full HP. Again, I'm not looking to push, and we're still losing lane against Jace, but now he has less mana. We have more sustain than him because we have another honey fruit that we can get. So we're in a really, really good spot in this laning phase. Vi keeps pinging on her way, and maybe we can look for a gank. I'm gonna look for some poke. I broke his bone plating, which is great. But he's not walking up, so he knows something is up. But this is a great situation to be in, and that's another reason to freeze the wave. Oh, it looks like he's committing a little bit here. He used his first ability on us. Shen has ulti. The enemy Shen did have ulti, but we're able to one-shot him before he can get it off. That was perfectly executed from us. Perfect wave manipulation. And as you saw, I was also slow pushing the wave, right? Even when he was pushing to him, I didn't force push a big wave. I was slow pushing. And now that he died, we can actually just immediately push under turret. And he's going to be denied so much golden XP from minions. This was a perfect start to a really hard matchup. And that's exactly how you want to play these really hard matchups. Now we actually have a pretty big advantage over him. We're like a whole level up on him because he missed so many minions. And we've gotten pretty much every minion. And not even his Shen could save him from that perfectly executed Vi gank. But it all came through our wave manipulation, right? That's why Vi was able to do what she did. Now, what our goal will mostly be is not to use our ulti. As you can see, we're still losing trades, no matter how far ahead we get. So our goal is to use our ulti to gain range of our first and third ability. Our goal is to silence him, so he can't trade back, then slow him, so he can run away before the silence, before he stops being silenced, so he can never jump on us. That's kind of how we want to trade on this matchup. Obviously, every matchup is going to be a lot different. For example, versus Kassadin, you pretty much never want to use your ultimate, because you want to use your ultimate when he ults you, so you can get away from his shurikens, right? So every hard matchup will be different. Against Jace, we can ult, do a bit of poke, but we want to make sure that we're not in a range where he's going to engage on us with his melee form and just combo us down. We see Shen, so we should be a little safe. But again, even though we have a big gold lead and a big EXP lead, we're still a lot weaker than the Jace. That's just the nature of the matchup and the nature of Kassadin. But we don't care. We know we're going to outscale. We know we're going to be a menace later into the game. So we just want to continue playing safe. We're not going to get too greedy. We do have infinite sustain from our honey fruit runes. So everything is going perfect in this laning phase. The objectives have spawned. We want to make sure that we're healthy for the objectives in case a fight does break out. But obviously we're not going to try and contest prio from the Jace. So my Vi will get caught by both of them. Because again, we don't have mid lane prio. We're playing Kassadin. It just is what it is. My Vi does a good call to switch objectives and go for the trade. Which is what she wants to be looking for when she's playing with a Kassadin. Especially in a losing matchup. Jace does give me the opportunity to go and try and snag a plate. I'm going to take his honey fruit and I'm just going to ult over the wall. There's no way he can chase me down. It looks like the enemies are looking for a fight, so I'm going to immediately ult flash on the Zeri, but I definitely overestimated my damage here, and this was a big mistake that I made, right? For some reason, I thought that we could just burst the Zeri right away, but I didn't take into account that we have a Nami Seraphine dual lane, so that was not great on my end, and we definitely could not burst the Zeri there. We had nowhere near enough damage, so pretty big mistake from me, pretty big throw. I kind of forgot what champion I was playing. For some reason I thought I was playing a good early game champion. I'm not, and I kind of threw my lead there, but it's alright. We're still in a decent position. We're about to get Rod of Ages in around 6 minutes. You want to be getting Rod of Ages before 7 minutes ideally, so you can start stacking both your tier and your Rod of Ages. So now we have both our stacking items, and of course we're gonna go back to lane Oh, what is the Heimerdinger doing, bro? He's smurfing it. He's not smurfing it. We're gonna go back to lane, but now our main goal is to get out of mid lane. We're still very, very vulnerable in this matchup. We want to go to a side lane where we can easily escape with our ulti. Kassadin is one of the best side lane champions because of how easily he escapes with his ulti. Of course, we're going to be taking as many plants as we can since they give us not just healing and mana, they also give us gold. We're going to go for a little trade. We do have Nami behind us, so we're not too scared of him jumping on us. Push the wave. But again, we want to be looking to start transitioning to the side lane whenever we can. Usually it's really hard when the turrets are still up. But once the Zeri takes that top lane turret, we should be able to kind of swap to the side lane. We're going to keep taking all the honey fruit plants for the extra gold, maximizing our income. Nami's here to support us, which is actually very nice. Makes this lane, this really hard lane, a lot easier. And we are still trying to go for first strike poke whenever we can. Heimerdinger's mid, Shiny's mid, Jace's mid, and this is exactly why we don't want to be mid as Kassadin. Our wave clear is not great, we're very vulnerable. We want to go to the side lane where we can always escape with our ultis. Trying to break his turrets so they don't push as easily. But again, I don't have wave clear. Ideally in this situation, Seraphine will be coming mid or your ADC will be coming mid, and you'll be going to the side lane since laning phase is pretty much over. We keep trying to heal with our little honey fruits, but we want to go to the side lane. And I'm finally calling for it. I'm like, I'm done with mid lane. Seraphine's time to rotate. I'm gonna go over to the side lane. I mean, if I could actually look for a play here. Nope. We're too scared of this area. And this will be it for the laning phase analysis for a hard matchup. Now let's finally look at a full Kassadin gameplay and implement everything we know. Let's finally look at the full gameplay. Let's take all the knowledge we have of Kassadin that we've gathered in the past 30 plus minutes of this video, and let's put it to action with some gameplay. A full gameplay, and we're playing versus Lux mid, which is again one of the easier matchups for Kassadin, which is exactly the situation you want to pick Kassadin in. We're not going to get greedy for first strike, we're just last hitting here. What's even better is the enemies have an AP jungler, Nautilus. This gives so much value to our silence and to our passive, so Kassadin is an amazing pick here. But what's even better is that the enemy has a squishy dual lane with Ezreal and Pyke. This means that they pretty much have a full squishy team. The only somewhat tanky champion in their team is Yasuo, of course assuming that Nautilus builds magic damage and not tank. So Kassadin is a really good pick here. Obviously Nautilus most of the time builds AP if he's gonna be in the jungle, so he's most likely AP Nautilus, and we're doing a great job just last hitting so far. We've gotten hit by no spells, we've gotten one first strike proc. We got a little greedy for a first strike proc there, but that's completely fine. We're doing good in the laning phase so far. As we learned in the Morgana matchup, just because it's a winning matchup, it doesn't mean we can really do anything pre-level 5. We're just looking to dodge as many spells as we can, get as many first strike procs as we can without getting greedy. What's most important is getting these last hits, making sure we stay ahead in gold so we can buy our stacking items right away. That's the only thing we really care about. And as you can see, I'm being very good at getting these last hits. Every time I play Kassadin, that's my goal. We're continuing to do a good job with the last hits. We're not gonna roam, we're gonna ward it defensively. She has no mana, which is actually pretty nice. She's gonna ignite us, and I'm just gonna cleanse that right away so that we don't take the extra poke from ignite. Maybe this is a bit of a mistake, but I don't want to get poked down. I want to stay in lane until I get my tier and boots. Now we have hit level 5, we can go in for a little trade after she missed her abilities. We're completely safe to go for the trade, and again we're gonna, if we're able to, we're gonna get our honey fruit after level 5 like we are here. You don't have to take it after level 5, but before level 5 you don't get the Ixtali Seed Jar, right? That's the main issue. Oh, we see Nautilus go for a roam. He's actually invading our jungler. He's a whole level up, but we can definitely come there first, and our team can follow up too. I don't have a lot of damage, but we should be able to take down the Nautilus. We do trade 1 for 1. Oh, I got grabbed by the Pyke. Flash the first ability of Lux. We can still win this. I have my combo. I'm waiting for the right target. Lucian overextends, and we're going to be able to pick him off as well. We don't want to continue fighting. We can't even use our ultimate because we don't have enough mana. right? We want to look for a base and start stacking our tier. So this is an incredible start for us. I could actually buy the full Rod of Ages. That might be worth, by the way. I'm not 100% sure, but if you can get the full Rod of Ages on your first base, that might actually be worth. However, I decided to just go for the regular build. Not the time to test it out when I'm recording for my guide. Lux messes up by using ultimate on top of our faces on the other side of the map, so we're able to get a great trade on her, and we can actually look for a dive now. We have our rank 3 ultimate. Okay, we still have enough damage for a dive. We're gonna immediately go for the silence. We're gonna actually cleanse the ignite, which ended up being a mistake, because I need to cleanse that ultimate. Oh, I do survive, that's crazy. Oof. So we get a great dive and we do survive too. That was actually perfect. I probably need to save my cleanse for the Nautilus ultimate. I didn't think he was there, so just cleanse the ignite immediately. Perfectly executed dive from us. We use the silence. We dodge her spells with our ulti. And it all started from that really good trade that she allowed because she was ulting top lane and probably not watching her screen. And now we're in an amazing spot. We have so much gold. We're ahead in XP. This is the place to be with Kassadin. And of course, this is a really good game for Kassadin overall. And we can keep jumping over her abilities and going for little trades, getting our first strike procs. She's very afraid of us, and she should be. As you saw, we already have the damage to kill her under tower if that's what it takes. That was a very aggressive trade from me, and I will be punished. I can't ult away because I am on my 3rd ult stack and I don't have enough mana. So that's my bad. I don't have flash, I don't have cleanse, and I don't have ultimate. I'm insanely vulnerable. I should not have gone for that aggressive trade without knowing where the enemy jungler is. So even the best Kassadin players can get greedy, can make mistakes, right? And that's exactly what we did. Now, it's still fine because of how far ahead we are, but if we hadn't had those early kills, this would have been a complete disaster. There's a fight breaking out in the jungle, so we're gonna immediately run there. This is not looking too good, but maybe with our next combo it can be useful. I can ult flash in, getting both the Nautilus and the Ezreal. Maybe we can get the Pike too if we play it right. I'm gonna cleanse the ignite, dodge his 3rd ability. I missed my first ability. Oh, I completely griefed and he outplayed me completely. I thought he was lower. I think he healed a bit with his grey health when she went in this for a second. Damn, he outplayed us pretty badly by pulling us into the turret. I got really greedy for that kill too because it would give me Rod of Ages. So I got pretty greedy, and now I'm in a position where I'm not gonna get Rod of Ages the space. It is what it is. Still a really good fight, right? We played with our combos. We did a great ult flash into the enemy backline, picked up the Nautilus and the Ezreal. Overall, a really good early team fight. It looks like the enemy team is fighting. This is a good fight for us, by the way. I'm looking for an angle to go in, but I'm not rushing it. Dodging the Lux spells. I'm gonna go for the Nautilus. He's very squishy. We're able to one-shot him with my team. I can look for the Lux here too. Oh, she flashed away. We're not gonna continue chasing. We're just gonna go back to mid lane and push. Pyke actually came and cleaned up the Camille. What's weird is that our ADC roamed, but our support didn't roam. So I don't know what kind of macro this is. Oh, the Pyke got very greedy. Varus hit him with his ultimate. Then I silence. Then Pantheon stuns, and Pyke cannot move. Perfectly executed from our team. Great CC chain there. And Varus actually had the Enchanted Assemble. He's gonna drop it mid. I do want a base to get my Rod of Ages and start stacking it, but I want to make sure I get this gold from the turret plates. Gonna get some first try gold as well. And now we're just gonna get away as the enemy team cleans that up and get our Rod of Ages. We actually have an insane amount of gold. We have 6,500. That's 1,000 over everyone else in the game, but it does make sense because we have 5 kills already. We're very fed, in a really good spot to carry this game, and this is a very easy team comp that the enemy team has. They can really lock me down, especially with cleanse, which I've mostly taken for the Nautilus Yasuo combo, but of course it helps a lot versus the Lux as well. We're almost 7 minutes, not even 8 minutes, and we're almost on our 2-item power spike. This is really big. We see Nautilus. I wanted to hit that ward, but when I saw Nautilus, I just immediately backed off. We're gonna push another wave. We do want to look to transition to the side lane, but when no side lane turrets have fallen, it becomes pretty hard to actually transition to the side lane. The first turret has not fallen yet. It's 8 minutes into the game. That's pretty wild. The game's going for a top gank. I'm gonna basic him my item and then immediately run top lane. We're gonna take the gate. But it looks like my Pantheon was able to counter gank with his ultimate. Oh, we can look for Lux. Is she AFK? No, she's moving. Look. Oh my god, Pantheon is smurfing. Great flash from Pantheon. Great map awareness from him to look for the Lux. And both our damages together are just enough to take her down. This is a really nice kill. We're gonna run back to mid lane. We can probably take turret here with the Lux dead. So we're gonna immediately push the wave. I didn't want to get greedy and go for a dive there. I'd rather just go mid and get the safe turret. And I see that Baron lane is fighting, and I can definitely roam there after I've taken the turret. I don't think anyone is in range to help. Pyke and Oilers are now coming. I don't know if they're gonna be there in time. Yeah, Yasuo hasn't noticed it. We can definitely look for him. Okay, he flashes away. We don't want to be greedy. We don't want to be greedy. We know Pyke and Oilers are both there. Alright, we're just gonna back off. We guys flash. Not bad. Good gank. In my books, that's a good gank. Both teams committed a lot, so it's not like they got anything while we're going for that, since they brought everyone there too. We're gonna go back and push out the mid wave so that we can look for more roams, even though we do have 1,500 gold. And drop some vision for our team. Try and get some first try gold, but unfortunately he hit us first. The dragon's actually spawning in 16 seconds. Oh, Nautilus going for the Skull Crab. He's trolling. He saw Pantheon take the gate, so that was really greedy from the Nautilus. But my damage and Pantheon's damage is enough to immediately one-shot him. He got really greedy for that crab. Just trying to set up his team for the dragon. My Pantheon's actually taking quite a bit of poke. And they do have Pyke, so if Pantheon goes low, this could be an issue. It looks like the enemy team is kind of contesting, but mostly with poke. I think he's actually in Pyke range here. This is really bad. Still want to get this dragon if possible. Alright, nice. We do get the dragon. We should be good. I'm going to go back to mid lane to push. Oh, there goes the Pyke. He actually got him. Oh, Lux. Oh, she flashed away. I was not going to follow up on that. But she flashed away, so that's awesome. We get her flash. Gonna push the mid lane wave. Looks like they're still fighting, but after Pantheon died, I gave up on that play. I'm not gonna fight a bad fight like that. Yeah, my team is dying. I'm gonna roam to Yasuo. He doesn't have flash. And Camille does have her ulti, so it should be pretty easy lockdown. There we go. Well done to Camille. I do want to play for the turret if possible. Gonna get the crab. We actually have so much gold. We're very close to our death cap. I think after this turret, we get full death cap. We're gonna reach our 3-item power spike very early on here. 11 minutes, we're gonna reach our 3-item power spike. Oh, Luxel. But again, Kassadin is not fully strong until he gets his rank 3 ultimate. So it's not just the item power spike we're looking for the rank 3 ultimate. As you can see, I'm using my ultimate for mobility only when he has a few stacks. When he has 3 stacks, I'm trying not to use for mobility unless I really need to. Like to catch out this very sneaky Pyke. Perfectly played. So now I'm waiting for my ultimate stacks to fall off before using it again, because again, when it has low stacks, you can use it for mobility since it doesn't cost a lot of mana. And you want to have high stacks when you're in a fight because it does more damage. So low stacks for mobility, high stacks for damage. Let's get some extra first try gold, and we actually go back and get our stasis. We are in the perfect spot for Kassadin to be now. Get our stasis. We have our 3 items. We just need a quarter of our level, and we can take over this game. The score is 17-14, so score-wise, we're still pretty close. Gold-wise, it's completely even. So this is, even though it looks really good from my perspective, this isn't a game that we're just stomping at, right? Ideally, there's no fights for the next little bit until I get my level 13, but I do see Yasuo roaming bot and my team committing pretty heavily, so I'm gonna roam as well with a gate. Ideally, I just want to get my level 13 first, but it looks like a fight might erupt, so I need to be ready for that. Oh, Yasuo makes a mistake, and that's gonna give us our level 13. And look at my damage already. Now that we have our level 13, we can completely obliterate the enemy team. We cleanse the stun of a Pyke. We can ult flash on the Lux and one-shot her as well, and that's the triple kill. And we are already a menace. We've hit our 3-item power spike. we've gotten our ultimate rank 3 and we're obliterating the enemy team right away with a huge triple kill, which is gonna give us Baron, and we went from the game being completely even to immediately being winning. We're obviously gonna be going for anti-shield this game, considering that the enemies have Lux AoE shield, Yasuo passive shield, Nautilus second ability shield, right? They have a lot of shielding, so we're gonna be going for the anti-shield. Pretty obvious choice. And next up, probably Crown if the game lasts that long, because they have a lot of burst that we want to negate. Even though Infinity Orb would also be a great choice here, since the enemies are pretty squishy. And same goes for the other Magic Pen item, Hextech Soul Stealer. Oh, we can get a great flank on the Ezreal. Perfect. And we can go for the Pike and the Nautilus as well. They're very overextended. We pick up all 3 of them and get a nice double kill for ourselves. That's kind of how you want to play the mid to late game as Kassadin. Pressure side lane. We can probably get the Lux too. Without even our ulti damage, we just already one-shot her. We are so unbelievably fed, but that's just what the late game damage looks like from Kassadin. This is how you want to play the mid to late game, right? Push out a side lane, pressure side lane, and roam with your ultimate. You roam so fast. You can definitely end the game here too. This will probably be the game. We hit our power spike and immediately destroyed them. I'm just gonna take this third so we have more minions to end the game with. Well, we should be able to end the game. And that will be it. So thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed this Kassadin guide, please leave a like. It really means a lot to me, and subscribe for more Wild Rift content. Also, let me know down in the comments what champion you want to see me play next and make a detailed guide for. Let's wait up to see exactly what the stats for this game were. Let's look at our damage dealt and all of that. Nice little W. We got a bunch of Kassadin score as well. We played incredibly well this game. We're gonna earn our MVP. But let's take a look at the damage dealt. Decent damage, a lot of gold from first strike. You love to see it. Thank you so much for watching.